let's go ahead and hit on the Boston Red Sox. They're certainly a team of regional interest, and we carry the Yankees here, but we know there's a ton of Boston fans. Evan Drellich from NBC Sports Boston joins us here on Big Board Sports 104.5 a Team, ESPN Radio. Evan, Roger Weiland, Chris Honorado, good morning.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate a few minutes, even things out. We got a ton of Yankee fans here, but again, Boston fans galore. Is there any reason for you to believe that this race in the American League East won't be a two-horse race with the Yankees and the Red Sox, and you can take your pick on which one you think is going to be on top of the other?
Yeah, I look at it as the Yankees' division to lose, despite the fact that the Red Sox won the division the last 2 years. I really thought the Yankees last year were going to catch the Red Sox. I was surprised they didn't. It ended up being pretty close toward the end. If everything goes right for the Red Sox, I'll hedge this way, they could be the best team in the American League. I don't think everything's going to go right for them. But if all the pitching is healthy, if David Price stays healthy and Chris Sale is as good as he was last year and even better through the end of the season because he had trouble down the stretch, and then you have guys like Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts, and they hit like they did in 2016 rather than 2017, there's a huge amount of talent on the Red Sox. It's just there's back-of-the-rotation health questions. I look at the Yankees lineup as better. I think overall their pitching staff, certainly their bullpen, I have more faith in the Red Sox. So a little edge to the Yankees right now.
And they were correct me if I'm wrong here, they were the best team in the Grapefruit League?
They went 22-9. Yeah. I think that includes some non-Grapefruit League exhibitions. Okay. Yeah, they were the best spring training team, including Grapefruit League play.
Wait a minute,
you don't want to get too wrapped up in that, but it's a good sign.
I just threw that out there. I don't really get into the number game at all in spring, wins and losses, but I did read where they had a really good win-loss record coming out of spring training in Fort Myers. There's no question this is a playoff team. How big of a difference will J.D. Martinez make in the middle of this lineup?
I think pretty huge. David Ortiz and his absence was felt, and I almost think the players began to buy into the absence, maybe even more than was reality. He became such a topic that if you're one of those young kids on that team looking around and going, why am I not hitting as well? What's missing? Oh, it's David Ortiz. And his impact can't be overstated. At the same time, I actually think it might be. But either way, J.D. Martinez in the middle of that lineup takes pressure off of those guys. He is an established hitter. People, the Red Sox fans who are like, I want Giancarlo Stanton, I don't want J.D. Martinez. Well, you look at the numbers, J.D. Martinez is just as good a hitter as Giancarlo Stanton. The only difference is power. And it's fully possible that J.D. Martinez is a better year than Giancarlo Stanton. He's just not quite that name brand that Stanton is, but people should believe in J.D. Martinez.
Evan Drellich with us here on Big Board Sports 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio. Covers the Red Sox for NBC Sports Boston, but you also hear him on WEEI. Check him out on Twitter at Evan Drellich. That's Drellich. And you can pre-order his book right now on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. It's The Big 50, the men and moments that made the Boston Red Sox. Evan, I don't think there's any question, and it's kind of like what we do with the Yankees here is, they're going to score a ton of runs. They're going to hit a bunch of home runs, and I feel like the Red Sox will do the same. But to me, it's the pitching. And after Chris Sale, how confident are you in the rest of that rotation when we throw out names like Price and Pomerantz and Porcello?
Well, so Pomerantz is starting the year on the disabled list. So is Eduardo Rodriguez. Pomerantz got a forearm thing that kind of keeps cropping up, and he keeps coming back from it okay. And you just wonder, well, when does that really become a problem with Erod, who every year it's like, the ceiling is high, and is this going to be the year he has it together? He kept having these knee dislocations, and they repaired that in the offseason. So when he comes back, he could be a pretty important part of the rotation. And Stephen Wright's on the disabled list, and he's also got a domestic violence policy suspension to serve when he comes back. So there are all these back-of-the-rotation questions beyond Price and Sale, and Price still has that elbow issue that sidelined him last year. It could be as good as can be, but it's not as though that ligament is all of a sudden fresh and brand new again. So you hold your breath with him a little bit too. And you mentioned the power. Yeah, they're both going to have power, but the Red Sox were the lowest home run hitting team in the American League last year. It was strange how little power they ended up having. So it's one thing to watch in the early going is whether the home runs do start flying again for the Red Sox.
Tied with Evan Drellich, NBC Sports Boston. I mean, last year when you look at that rotation, Pomeranz was terrific. I mean, if he can get close to the numbers he had last year, boy, that's going to be huge for this Boston starting rotation.
Yeah, he was underrated, underappreciated, all of that. It's good you point him out because Rick Porcello was coming off the Cy Young in 2016, and people thought he would drop off. I don't think people thought he would do quite as poorly as he did last year. He kind of got caught in between with his sinker and the more elevated four-seam fastball. He couldn't locate it, and it's getting harder and harder in this launch angle day with people uppercutting baseballs to be a sinker baller. The sinker baller is a rarer breed. Like, you got to have the kind of movement that Dallas Keuchel has and just this real strong drop. So you're looking for Porcello to rebound, but Pomeranz, you're right, was the guy that stepped up. In Price's absence because of injury and Porcello's absence because of performance, Pomeranz was there. So they do need him. And if not him, then you need somebody. Somebody's got to fill the void here, and there's just a lot of question marks in that rotation that still has probably the best 1-2 punch in baseball.
Evan, I want to ask you about the book because I think anybody in journalism would love to just have something they wrote published in a way of a book that is hardcover and you can put on a bookshelf at home. What was the impetus behind the Big 50?
It's looking at throughout history, a little more emphasis on modern history, just different topics, be it teams, 2004, players, and trying to give it, tell what we know happened already, but give it a little bit of a new perspective. That was the idea of, what can I possibly say about Ted Williams? And it was a little defeating at first because it's like, there's nothing I can say, but you know what? Actually, I can think about it. The more I got into it, the more fun it became because you could look at things from the present day angle, instead of looking at Fenway Park's history, talking about the future of Fenway Park, which is something that I think is no longer a topic for many people. So it was a chance to put a little different spin on a lot of the old Red Sox topics.
The other thing I find very interesting with this upcoming baseball season, Yankees, Red Sox, you're talking about two teams that have two new managers. I mean, how's Aaron Boone going to do? How's Alex Cora going to do? What's your thoughts on Boston's new manager, and do you think he's going to be a good fit in Boston?
Yeah, I think he's certainly learning on the job, as you would expect. It'll be the same for Boone. Theo Epstein was just in Fort Myers. The Red Sox finished up spring training playing exhibitions against the Cubs. So Theo was here. We were talking to him about this trend of managers, young managers, and he thinks it's going to swing back the other direction. He's a very big fan of Alex Cora, believes in him, but we are seeing, and we see this a lot in baseball, where teams just kind of all herd in one direction at the same time. Experience, probably both on the roster and in the manager's seat right now, is getting a little undervalued. So don't be surprised if you see someone make a dumb mistake, one of those two managers early on. You're like, how the hell did you screw that up? But that's what you get when you get managers who are inexperienced. Something is going to get screwed up.
Is Dave Dombrowski going to hold Alex Cora's hand the way Brian Cashman's going to hold Aaron Boone's hand?
I look at the way the Red Sox roster shaked out, and there was a couple surprise guys, people that nobody would have heard of. Bobby Pointer's a lefty reliever. Marcus Walden's a righty reliever. Now, nobody you need to know for your fantasy teams or anything like that. But when you look at how they made the team and who they made the team over, what it suggests to me is that Cora came in with a blank slate, saw guys in spring training, saw guys he liked, and said, you know what, I want this guy over the incumbent. They had a guy, Robbie Scott, last year, who was a lefty in the bullpen, who was going to the minors, and Robbie Scott did a pretty darn good job for them. So the way I look at it is Dombrowski's giving him a little bit of leash, I actually think, right now. And that's what you do with a new manager. You say, okay, you don't want any conflict to begin with. This is your team. And then when you get in the heat of the battle, that's when you'll have those closed-door meetings and why didn't you pinch hit this guy? Well, why did you let me take this guy on the roster? And all that type of stuff will start again.
Can't wait for it to get started. I guess I don't have to wait too much longer because it all cranks up tomorrow. And right now, your opinion would be you've got the Yankees with the team to beat with all the changes they made and their offseason and Giancarlo Stanton, and it's their division to lose.
Yeah, and I'll put a little asterisk on it. It's the Astros American League to lose, and every year the World Series champion is looked at with some due deference. We go every season we're going to go, yeah, that team's in a good position to repeat. The Astros are in a really good position to repeat, and maybe I'm a little, I don't want to say biased, but I cover them up close, so I know a few of their players and their system better than most do. It's the Astros. And then I guess you might put the Yankees and the Red Sox in that same group, but it's really then everybody else. The Indians are there too. If the starting pitching, if Kluber and Carrasco are healthy, but the American League looks like the similar 4-team race it was last year, unless somebody comes out of nowhere. I don't know, the Blue Jays project to actually be a decent team. But I do think the Yankees are in a little better position than the Red Sox, but not a ton.
Evan, always a pleasure. Thanks for a few minutes.
Good
luck
stuff,
with
man.
the book, and we'll talk to you down the road, man.
Thanks, guys.